And we are live on Friday, the 6th of March, 2020. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Rayo here on the Joe Rayo Weather YouTube channel. And for all of you out there who are tuned in for the very first time and are not yet subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do so. It does not cost you a single red cent. And that's nice when things are free, aren't they? But you are watching a discussion. We're going to spend the next 20 or 30 minutes just talking about the weather for not only what we saw today, which was rather gloomy, but also tonight and on through this upcoming weekend. Right now on your screen, you're seeing the satellite picture, the satellite loop at just a few minutes past 5 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. And if you'll note that we do have some rather significant precipitation basically to the south and east of the tri-state New York City metropolitan area. In fact, all of the areas of green and yellow indicating steady light to moderate rainfall. Lighter amounts, lighter intensities are noted up across New York State, across southeastern New York State, New York City, Long Island, Westchester, Rockland County, and the Hudson Valley. And in fact, if you go far enough north, on up toward Albany, not much is happening up there at all. But this is due to a very, very strong or intensifying storm system that we've been watching all day long. And this thing truly is going to become a monster before this is all over said and done. In fact, as we move through the next 12 to 24 hours, this storm system is going to intensify pretty well off our shorelines. And for all of you snow lovers out there, I don't know what to tell you, yet another bullet dodged, so to speak. This storm, if there were enough cold air in place over the New England states or northeastern states, if it took a track a little bit closer to the coast, would certainly have brought us a significant, if not perhaps substantial snowfall. But the way things have been playing out this winter season, that is not going to be the case. The storm is revving up, but by the time it really revs up, it's going to be too far out to sea to affect us, other than in terms of very strong winds. We are going to see some gusty winds here tonight and on into the day on your Saturday. In fact, let me turn the camera a little bit here and give you an idea as to what we can see as far as on the satellite picture, satellite loop, what we're looking at right now. And this particular view of the Northeast from the GOES 16 satellite shows you pretty much the story. The northeastern states underneath a thick swath of clouds as of this time. And the storm system in question, as I said, is located off to the south and east of our area. This is the approximate position. In fact, I'll tell you what, based upon some of the computer models that I've looked at, it wouldn't be at all surprising if this storm, an extratropical storm, not a tropical system, not a hurricane, but this system is going to wind up so strongly that it likely is going to develop what would appear to be on the satellite pictures an eye, maybe by later tonight and tomorrow. In fact, the barometric pressure is expected to get down to something like 28.6 inches of mercury. This is going to be the equivalent, in terms of barometer pressure, the equivalent of a Category 2 hurricane. Many a hurricane has passed through these waters over the years with a barometric pressure strength similar to what we're seeing here develop off our shorelines this afternoon and tonight. But again, fortunately, the lion's share of this activity is taking place out to sea and not affecting our area, except for those gusty and brisk winds that we're going to be looking at for the overnight hours tonight into tomorrow. So here we have the GFS. This is based upon the 7 a.m. Computer information, the 12Z model. Let me just move this up a little bit so you can see it a bit better here. And what we have is, this is the view as of 7 o'clock this evening. There is the storm in question. It is down, as I said, approximately, I would say about 300 miles southeast of the New York City metropolitan area. 973 millibars, the projected barometric pressure reading. Again, this is close to like 28.6 inches of mercury, very deep weather system. And this storm is going to be moving away to the north and east. But as a result of that movement, it is going to be the aspects or the effects of the storm, both in terms of precipitation and in terms of cloud cover, will be going away with it over the next 12 hours. as you can see now, we jumped over now to, this is 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. And again, the storm system even stronger, 964 millibars. Look at all of these isobars just tied together, very tightly wound up. This is a very, very strong pressure gradient, and the winds coming out of a north or northeasterly direction swinging around this storm system. Now, by 1 o'clock in the morning, as you can see, most of this activity is pretty well done in terms of precipitation. It is not out of the question. The rain that we're seeing right now, the light rain, not out of the question that we might see a little bit of wet snow mixing in with the rain drops during the next few hours, especially over the interior sections of our viewing region. But in general, what we're thinking of is that whatever precip we get will be pretty well gone by midnight or shortly thereafter, and that opens the door for improvement. Sky is gradually clearing as we move on toward daybreak. And wow, look at that. Just look at the way these isobars are just crammed together. And this storm system continues to grow in intensity. 964 millibars, something like 28 and a half inches of mercury on the barometer scale. Just an amazingly tightly wound up storm. And again, one could only imagine what would have happened if the storm took a little bit of a closer track. If we had enough cold air in place, we could have really had a historic storm, but a historic storm in terms of snow and wintry conditions. But again, as we have seen so often this winter season, that is not going to be the case. We just miss out on that. So we'll continue to show you here with the passage of time tomorrow. We're going to see gusty winds blow out of a northerly direction, northeasterly direction. The isobars are not quite as tightly packed by the end of tomorrow and tomorrow evening, but still I think we're going to see some brisk winds. Tonight, look for winds out of a northerly direction. I'd say about 10 to 15 sustained with gusts to over 20. Tomorrow, northwesterly winds, 10 to 15, gusting to over 25. Tonight will be cloudy. We're looking for light rain, maybe mixed with a few flakes of wet snow, especially well inland during the first half of the night, and then just lots of leftover clouds after midnight. Low temperatures in the Hudson Valley, 30 to 36, the coldest readings in the sheltered valleys to the north and west, especially north of Interstate 84. Tomorrow, if there are any clouds lingering, and there probably will be, especially from the Hudson River and points east across, let's say, Westchester, Connecticut, Long Island, early in the morning tomorrow, they will gradually give way by certainly 10 or 11 o'clock to mainly sunny conditions. In fact, it's going to be probably bright and sunny. I don't think you'll be able to find much of any cloud cover here by tomorrow afternoon. The only thing is that the winds will be still busy, as I said, from the northwest, 10 to 15, gusting to 25. Highs tomorrow, 42 to 51. But the way the winds will be blowing tomorrow, I suspect that that 42 to 51 will feel more like 30s to around 40 during the course of the afternoon hours tomorrow. Then as we move into tomorrow night, high pressure will build into our area. We're looking for a beautiful, clear, moonlit night tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is the night before the full moon of March. The full moon of March is known as the sap moon or the worm moon because at this time of the year now, this late in the winter season, the sap begins to run out of trees, and the worm moon. Well, if you believe in that tradition, the earthworm is beginning to move more freely as the ground begins to not only just moisten up but also warm up. The earthworms, I presume, are starting to move a little bit better through the ground. The ground supposedly frozen during December, January, and February, and beginning to soften up a bit during March. Actually, was there any time this winter season when the ground was frozen? We really had a relatively mild winter, and that'll be borne out, I'm sure, by the official statistics from the National Weather Service to come out in the next week or two as to how meteorological winter, December, January, and February fared here in the Northeast, or at least in our part of the country, our neck of the woods here in the I-95 corridor. Tomorrow night, moonlit skies and clear, and lows of 19 in the valleys, 30 degrees for coastal and urban locations, and then a gloriously beautiful day on Sunday. Sunday will be bright. Sunday will be sunny. Sunday will have much less wind and temperatures of 51 to 60 degrees. That 51-degree reading probably for places down by the Sound Shore areas. So if you get a little bit of a localized breeze off the Sound Shore of lower Westchester on Sunday, you'll be cooled back to the low 50s. But inland, upper 50s, could very well touch 60 in some spots inland before the day is over with on Sunday. And once again, I'll give note to the Mahopac St. Patrick's Day Parade, which will be starting or kicking off on Route 6 in Mahopac, I believe at 1:30 or 2 o'clock. I think it's 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. The parade kicks off. What a great day for a parade, huh? The Irish really are going to luck out this year with their parade, at least in Mahopac. Let's see how it all pans out in New York City for the parade on the 17th. I believe this is, I think this is going to be the 42nd annual parade in Mahopac. And of course, in New York City, the parade has been going on for over 200 years. So big parade in Mahopac on Sunday, big parade, of course, in Midtown Manhattan on St. Patrick's Day, St. Patty's Day on the 17th. We move things along here. Another beautiful day on Monday. In fact, let me tell you about Monday. Monday looks like a day where we're going to have not only bright sunshine for much of the day, but temperatures on Monday, probably here in the lower Hudson Valley, 60 to 65. And I think in New York City, we're going to see temperatures take a run close to 70 degrees on Monday. Kind of beautiful, almost like mid or late spring day, even though it's still late winter. Then we'll get into some wet weather here on Tuesday. You see the green coming in from the west. That green is indicative of some showery rains that'll be moving into our area, probably by midday or early afternoon on Tuesday, continuing into Tuesday night. This doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot of rain, probably something on the order of maybe about a quarter inch to maybe a half an inch. The rain will persist until about midnight or shortly thereafter. Then skies will clear. Wednesday looks nice. Now, even though we'll have the clouds and the wet weather on Tuesday, temperatures on Tuesday will still be on the mild side, up near 60 degrees, and a bit of a cool down. This is a cold front moving through on Tuesday that's setting off the wet weather. Behind that cool front on Wednesday, temps will not be quite as mild, still not bad for this time of the year, in the mid and low 50s. Clouds early, giving way to intervals of sunshine. And then another disturbance moves on in on Thursday, actually late Wednesday night into Thursday, early Thursday. Notice Thursday morning, the GFS is suggesting in the green areas, rain, further north, a bit of snow. This again is a disturbance that will be moving on through Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. It does not, however, look like it's going to be anything significant, partly because of the intensity, the rate of fall of the rain or snow, going to be very light, and also because of the fast movement. I mean, let me show you. This is 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. This is Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And look, by 1 p.m. on Thursday, it's all gone. It's already off to the east. And so whatever unsettled weather we have on Thursday will be moving out and away and giving way to clearing Thursday afternoon. Remember the GFS, what it was saying here a couple of days ago for Thursday and Friday of next week, that massive snowstorm? What happened to that? Well, again, as I've said over and over, beyond 5 days, take it with a grain of salt. The forecast can sometimes be off. And boy, were they off on that projection of a massive snowstorm for us for Thursday and Friday. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. It didn't show up on the models yesterday, and it's not showing up today, and I doubt very much if it's going to show up tomorrow. Anyway, we move out of that on Friday of next week, Friday the 13th. And next Friday looks not too bad. Sun, maybe some late day clouds. Temperatures on Friday will be somewhere again in the lower 50s, near 50 on Thursday of next week, low 50s next Friday. And then as we continue to move ahead on into next weekend, the weekend of the 14th and 15th, you can see that, again, now this is beyond 5 days. So take this again with a grain of salt. But supposedly, if you take this at face value, we'll have a dry Saturday, the 14th, followed by a wet Sunday, the 15th. We'll see if that all, again, pans out. Let's move and show you the upper air and show you the how things are going on in the upper level winds, the jet stream winds. This is the map for Thursday morning. And I want to point out to you that that massive ocean storm that we're seeing right now is actually, if I'm going to move the camera a little bit better here, that massive ocean storm is being caused by the combination of two weather systems, a southern stream system. This, as you can see here on Thursday morning, was over northern Louisiana. Another system, this is the package of energy dropping on down from south central Canada and moving into the western Great Lakes. And now as we move things along again, this is Thursday morning. Here is Thursday evening. Already we have a closed contour here indicating an intense upper level system diving south and eastward. Here we go for Friday morning. And now on Friday morning, it's beginning to impact that southern system, picking it up and getting ready to kick it on out to sea to our east. Here's the upper air energy for Friday evening, just in another couple hours at 7 o'clock. Look at all that big bend in the atmosphere. And we have a closed system here, another closed system in the upper atmosphere, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet over here. And the storm system that is really getting its act together now. This is like now this upper air system is pumping atmospheric steroids into that coastal storm, which is why it's becoming so very, very strong. Here's the storm right here. And if we move things along to Saturday morning, there you go. We have ourselves, what do we have here? We have a 1, 2, 3, 4 contour cutoff low that's located south of Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, and about 400 miles to the east of New York City. And that's where all the action will be tomorrow morning, is out over the ocean. But look at the way the winds have curved around behind this system, coming almost straight down from the north. You combine these upper level winds from the north with those surface winds from the north and northwest on Saturday morning, and you can see, especially the way the height lines here are crushed together just off to our west, that we're going to have a rather brisk and breezy day on Saturday, and those winds will be certainly active, but also those winds coming from the north bringing in drier air, and indeed it will evolve into a brilliantly sunny and clear weather day on Saturday, and temperatures again tomorrow probably hovering in the 40s to around 50 degrees. Look at that big ridge of high pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere building in. These orange colorations are indicative of increasing heights in the atmosphere. And this indicates a building ridge of high pressure in the higher levels of the atmosphere, building in our direction and setting the stage for a glorious day on Sunday. Less wind, sunny, temperatures reaching on Sunday probably up to the 50s to around 60. And then as we get into Monday, that ridge of high pressure practically on top of us and providing us with another glorious mid or late spring-like day with sunshine and temperatures reaching to or above 60. Some spots may have challenged 70 degrees Monday afternoon. And then that system will move on through. As I noted, we are going to see a cold front move on by. You can see a little bend in the jet stream up here. The cold front moving on through approximately in this position here, providing us with a bit of shower activity later Tuesday into Tuesday night. And then as we move on into Wednesday, a dry day. Then on Thursday, another shot of precipitation from another disturbance. This is the one for Wednesday night into early Thursday. Another bend in the atmosphere, a fall in the height lines right about here. If you recall, 2 days ago, the GFS was really deepening this upper level feature, so much so that it was causing a cutoff low to appear right about here. And that cutoff system forming a major storm, which 2 days ago they said, the GFS was saying, they're going to bring us a massive snowstorm. That's not going to happen. Again, there's no blocking in the atmosphere. There's nothing to prevent or preclude this feature, this cutoff, this shortwave, as we call in the upper levels of the atmosphere, from staying where it is and just deepening, as was the case 2 days ago. That's what the GFS model was saying 2 days ago, that the storm upper level system was going to slow down, stall, and strengthen eventually to form a major coastal system, which would dump a lot of snow. But take a look. Look what happens. This right here, it's almost like a pendulum swinging through our area. This is 7 p.m. on Wednesday. This is 1 a.m. on Thursday. This is 7 a.m. on Friday. Look, like I said, a pendulum is now swinging past us. And by the time we get to 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon, I said, it's all gone. The sun is probably coming back out. This upper level feature is swinging away to the east. And that's it as far as any unsettled conditions are concerned for the rest of Thursday. Friday looks pretty good. There's another upper level feature that'll be moving on through during Friday, but it looks like all it's going to do is just provide a turn in the winds over to a northwest direction, maybe give us a bit of a brisk breeze on Friday, and the next chance of any unsettled weather may have to wait until this feature to the west of us over the nation's midsection pushes into this high pressure ridge on Saturday of next week, and maybe provides us with a wet day a week from Sunday. Again, if you want to fall into line here and take this at face value. One other map I want to show here is this one. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center in College Park, Maryland. And as you can see, this particular map is indicating that we're going to see a very, very mild set of days from the 14th to the 20th. The probability of above normal temperatures is indicated by CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, to be in our part of the country, 70%, a 70% chance of above normal temperatures when we get through the 14th through the 20th of March, which doesn't say much for you snow lovers. If you've been hoping that maybe things would trend toward colder weather during the latter part of March, it does not look like that's going to happen. In fact, let me just change the perspective here a little bit. And let's take a look at the experimental 3 to 4 week prog. Yes, they actually do a prog at CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, taking us through the next 3 to 4 weeks. And the probability, according to this particular map, for our part of the country, from the 21st of March through the 3rd of April, see this contour here, see this 70% line, 70%. They are suggesting a 70% chance of above normal temperatures in the Mid-Atlantic, the Great Lakes, and the northeastern United States for the 21st of March to the 3rd of April. That, folks, seems to shut the door on any chance. And yours truly has been saying, both here on the Joe Rayo Weather Channel here on YouTube, and also on Joe and Joe, the show that Joe Chiappi and I do. And by the way, we decided tonight, Joe and I decided we're not going to do a Joe and Joe show tonight. Joe has spent much of this week down in South Carolina visiting his daughter and son-in-law and grandchild, and now he's in Florida. So I told him, I said, Joe, why don't you just take the rest of the week off? And if we do anything together, it would be on Sunday morning, Coffee with Joe and Joe on Sunday morning of this week on Joe's YouTube channel. So no Joe and Joe tonight, but what I've been saying with Joe and Joe, and also on my own channel here, is that maybe, I had this gut feeling that maybe by the end of March or early April, we'd see a pattern change, a significant pattern change to colder weather, and maybe we'd have perhaps a shot at some snow in early April. Well, let me tell you right now, if the Climate Prediction Center is correct with this 70% zone of above normal temperatures here in the Northeast and Great Lakes, that ain't going to happen. That is not going to happen. Look for unseasonably balmy temperatures, maybe through the entire month of March and right on into the beginning of April as well. And that may put, if you believe this at face value, that pretty much will put the nail in the coffin for all of you snow lovers who are hoping for any kind of significant snow event to finish out the winter season. Still not over. Crazy things have happened. Sometimes things have changed, but right now it does not look like we have much of a chance of seeing any significant snow here for this month of March and maybe even on into the beginning of April as well. Let me quickly just close the lens here for a moment. Put the lens cover back on. I'm going to change the perspective of the camera here so this way we have a shot of yours truly, and also I'll be able to get a shot too of the chat board and be able to see what's going on with all of you out there on this Friday. If I can get rid of all of my graphics here, and there all of you are. And if I just move the camera up a little bit and change the focus and open things up, and there we are. How are all of you today? Yes, here I am on my Facebook page again, my YouTube page again, And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to Joe Rayo Weather on YouTube if you've not already done so. Let's put the glasses back on and check out the chat board, see if any of you have any questions out there this Friday afternoon. Scott Briller is on. Scott, I want to tell you something. You gave me a bit of information yesterday, and I kind of improved upon it a little bit. Scott was talking about, and this is for all of you snow lovers out there who have been yearning about whether or not we're going to see any snow. As we just talked about, it doesn't look like that's going to happen for the rest of this winter season. We'll see if things change on that. But how about next winter? Did you know that in years where we have had a paucity of snowfall, and in this particular case, I think Scott said, what did you give me, Scott? 10 inches or less snow. Usually the year after a year like this, we get a lot of snow. What I did a little check on the National Weather Service site and found that, first of all, for winters where we've had 5 inches of snow or less, it's only happened 3 times. 3 other times that has happened. In the winter of 2001-2002, in the winter of 72-73, and in the winter of, I believe, 18 and 19, we've had less than 5 inches. This winter looks like it's going to be winter number 4 where that has happened, where we've seen less than 5 inches of snow. Now, interestingly, in those years where we have had 5 inches or less of snow, and again, it's only happened 3 other times, in 18-19, in 1972-73, and in 2001-2002. In the 3 years that those numbers were attained, the very next winter, 1 year later, we had a tremendous amount of snow, more snow than we certainly have had in those 3 years, those years where we've had less than 5 inches. The very next winter, we have had much more snow. And 2 of those winters, we're talking about the winter, 2 of those 3 winters where we've had like 5 inches or less. The next winter, we had over 40 inches of snow. I think one of those winters, I forget which one, I think it was the winter of 73-74. 1973-74, we had something like 26, 27 inches at Central Park, close to the norm, but certainly a lot more than what we had the previous year. In fact, the previous year, 72-73, goes down in the weather record books at Central Park as the year with the least amount of snow, 2.8 inches. So we had 2.8 inches in 72-73. The next year, we had something like 26, 27 inches of snow, far more snow. And in the other 2 examples, 1918-19, I think in 1919-20, and again in 2001-2002, the next year after that, 2002-2003, the 2 years following those very light snow years, 40 or more inches of snow fell. The average, in fact, for those 3 winters that came after those 3 minor snow years was something like 40 inches plus, 40.1 inches. So you see, there is some hope if that this winter and next winter follow along those lines. Next winter should be a blowout, so to speak. Next winter, we should have more than enough snow to make a lot of you folks happy. So as they used to say in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Dodger fans used to say most every year, wait till next year. And a lot of you snow lovers, you may have to wait until next year too. But if you follow along that track, 3 is a relatively small sampling though. But if you follow along those track, in those years where we've had, a mere paucity of snow, less than 5 inches, the very next year we came back and had a lot more in terms of snowfall. 1 year, something like 26, 28 inches, and the other two years, over 40 inches of snow. The average for the three winters, 40.1 inches of snow. So there is hope, not necessarily for this year, but for next year. Jeffrey Mayer says hi. Hi to you, Jeffrey. Also, we have, who else do we have here? Johnny Quest is on. James is on. The usual bunch here on Joe Rayo Weather. And FLED Weather, he is there. GFS Blizzard died like usual. Yeah, well, we knew that, didn't we? I mean, we said that 2 days ago when it was showing 22 inches of snow for Rockland County. I mean, you go back in the archives, you can see how I was like cracking up at that. That's not going to happen. We know it wasn't going to happen. And indeed, it died. It died a very quick death, so to speak. Scott said, where would you head to see total eclipse of the sun in 2024? How about Niagara Falls? Well, Scott, interesting you bring that up because tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of the great total eclipse of the sun that went up the eastern seaboard in 1970. The 2024 eclipse will take a track from Texas up to northern New England and continuing on into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. But you know what? If you look at the climatological records, it shows that the sunniest place to be on April the 8th of any year would be Texas. And as you head northward, you tend to see more in the way of cloud cover. In fact, it's still almost winter-like usually in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and upstate New York, Plattsburgh. They're going to see a total eclipse on April the 8th, 2024. So if you looked at it just and took it at face value, you'd best to stay to the south and not come north into the northeast. Strange things have happened, though. And I will point out to you that in 1970, a lot of people decided that they were going to go to Florida for that particular eclipse. There was one little town in the middle of the totality path, Perry, Florida. They were in northern Florida. The climatological indications were that Perry had a 70% chance of sunny to partly cloudy skies for the day of the eclipse. That was the 7th of March. Guess what? It was cloudy. They didn't see the sun at all during the entire stage of the eclipse, and I think they even had a few showers around. A lot of people who headed down there basing their hopes and thoughts on climatological average didn't happen. However, further to the north, where the weather odds were not so good, Nantucket Island, Nantucket off the coast of Cape Cod, which had a low probability of clear skies to see the eclipse, had perfectly clear weather on eclipse day in March of 1970, 50 years ago, tomorrow, March the 7th. So you see, sometimes you can't pin your hopes on climatological odds. It may very well be that Niagara Falls or Buffalo and Plattsburgh will have beautiful, clear weather on eclipse day, April 8th, 2024. But then again, if you look at the climatological averages, that seems to be a long shot. But again, strange things have been known to happen. And sometimes there's an old saying, climate is what you expect, but weather is what you get. And sometimes the weather can be a lot different than what the climatological odds suggest. Take a look also, another example, 1991, there was a total eclipse of the sun over the big island of Hawaii. The climatological odds said that the west side of the island, the Kona side of the big island of Hawaii, had a 90% chance of clear and sunny weather. Guess what? On that day, that eclipse day in 1991, a Tut occurred, a tropical upper tropospheric trough. Only about a 1 chance in 10 of that ever happening in the summertime, and usually July is the clearest month of the year for the Big Island, but that was one of those times in July of 1991, the day of the solar eclipse, and thousands who traveled to Hawaii thinking that they were going to have a shoe-in, great chance of seeing a total eclipse, saw nothing but cloud cover because of that tut to that. All right. Well, who else do we have on the chat board today? We have Jimmy Z, New Jersey. So March is on. Yes, it came in like a lamb, and who knows, it might go out like a lamb as well. Johnny Quest, James. Who else do we have here today? And Scott Briller, Alfred Phillips. And here in northern Alaska, Wainwright, Alaska, Western Arctic Coast region. What is it up there like today, Alfred? I'm sure it's a lot colder than it is down here in the tri-state New York metropolitan area. Johnny Quest says, Joe, how do weather forecasters like yourself get around warning people of severe weather late at night or early in the morning when people are sleeping and TV and radio is off? I got to tell you something, Johnny. I don't really know. A lot of these weather radios, that you can get, where you can tune in to get the latest forecast from your local National Weather Service office, has a button on it, which is an alarm button. And during times of severe weather, especially in the case of a tornado or a thunderstorm, that alarm will go off. So if you have that radio in your room and all of a sudden at 2 o'clock in the morning you hear it go, that'll obviously wake you up. And if you hit the button on your weather radio, then you can hear the latest update as to what to anticipate in terms of possibly a thunderstorm or a tornado or a flood situation or a wind situation. That's one way to stay abreast of the weather, is to have one of these radio alarm systems. Now, interestingly, and I posted this on my Facebook page yesterday, New York City has been going without a National Weather Service radio service for a good number of weeks and a good number of months. There was a problem, I think, with the transmitter and interfering with Coast Guard signals or whatever, but they have now pretty much solved the problem. They have moved the transmitter to the top of the Empire State Building, are doing some testing, and within the next, hopefully next month or so, KWO35, the New York City National Weather Service Forecast Office weather radio, at a frequency of 162.55 megahertz, which has been absent from the airwaves for many, many months now, will go back on the air. You folks who might be watching on Eastern Long Island, WXM 80, which is also served by the New York National Weather Service, that's at a different frequency, and that has been going full speed or full bend without any interruption at 162.40 kilohertz. But the 162.55 megahertz frequency has been off the air for a long time now, but it's expected to go back on the air come the next month or so. This according to a update that was put out yesterday by the National Weather Service Forecast Office over at Upton, Eastern Long Island. And that'll be good. That's certainly, you would think, the biggest city in the world without emergency weather radio activity, but that is coming back in a new and improved form again in the weeks to come. So other than that, if you don't have a weather radio, I don't really know how you would be updated unless you actually heard the winds blowing outside of your window, or if you were a weather-minded person. I don't really know how you could, alert people if they're sound asleep and watching the Inside the Eyelid show at 2:00 in the morning, which again is pretty much what was happening in Memphis a few days ago with that tornado. A lot of people were asleep and didn't know about it until literally the last minute, when they were hearing all of the wind outside and hearing the approach of that tornado, which, as always, sounds like a freight train approaching. But it might be well to, for everybody to have a weather radio in their bedroom, at least, with the alarm button set and ready in case the weather does turn unsettled or stormy, and to get that alarm to go off to wake you up and to hear about what may be happening in a matter of minutes or in the next hour or so. Tim Beltman, 2002-2003 was a banner year, over 105 inches in Albany. So you see, even up in areas outside of New York City, 2001, 2002, kind of a quiet year up in Albany. 2002, 2003, as Tim mentioned, over 100 inches. And I think New York City had over 40, or maybe it was over 46 inches. And this came 1 year after a year where we had here in New York less than 5 inches of snow. Will it happen next year? No guarantee, but if you follow along the lines of the last 3 times this happened, who knows? Maybe next year might be a banner year for us, for those of you who are into snow and wintry weather. Scott Briller, great question, Johnny. And I just answered that about how do weather forecasters get people warned about impending weather in the middle of the night. Alfred Phillips, it is now up in northern Alaska, in Wainwright, Alaska, minus 1 degree Fahrenheit, wind chill of -5. It's the spring season, spring-like weather up here. Well, I suppose if you've seen temperatures of 20 and 30 and 40 below zero, -1 certainly would feel like spring, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, Alfred? Michael Azera, big late season snowstorm occurred on April 3rd, 1915 at Central Park, 10.2 inches in New York City, 19.4 inches in Philadelphia. Well, we can dream, can't we, Mike? Does not look like that's going to happen this year, but we'd always see whether or not that does take place. If next year, according to Scott Briller, is less than 10 inches, moving to Caribou or Redfield. Tim Veltman also writes, again in Albany, there were 2 stretches of winters in the early 1900s where one was 15 years in a row and another was 16 years in a row of less than average snowfall winters. Next year, not a lock. So we'll see. Just hold on for a second. while I wet my whistle, I'm having, I think I mentioned this on Joe and Joe. I'll mention this here. Cactus Cola, folks. There is actually a soda. My brother-in-law, John, I told the story about the episode of the Flintstones where it was a hot day. Fred was coming home. He was looking forward to that bottle of Cactus Cola in his refrigerator. And Wilma, when he got home, he found out that Wilma gave it to Barney instead. He went across the way, saw Barney polishing his car, grabbed the bottle, started to swig it down. And Barney said, "No, Fred, don't do it. Don't do it." And Fred drank the whole bottle. And then Barney said, "Fred, can I ask you a question?" And Fred said, "Yeah, you better make it a good one. It's the last question I'm ever going to answer for you." And Barney said, "Fred, why did you drink my car polish?" and of course, Fred starts jumping up and down and says, Barney, I drank car polish. What am I going to do?" And Barney says, I'll get a chamois. I told that story to my brother-in-law, John, and this past Christmas, he honored me with not one, not two, but I think 4 cases of this soda, Cactus Cola. And there you go. It's available. Where is this available? Wish my brother-in-law were here. I'm trying to see the location of where this is sold. You probably could go on Google and find this out. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. 1-800, there's a phone number here. 1-800-696-5891 or dpsg.com. So for any of you who want Cactus Cola, here you go. That's where you can get it. And I got more than my fair share. I have enough that's probably going to last for the rest of this year. It is Orange Pineapple Blast. So it's a great tasting cola for all of you out there who would like to cool off. And if any of you know Fred Flintstone, tell him about it. I'm sure he'd want some too. Robert Brown, hi, Joe. Hi, Scott. Johnny Quest, Michael. Hi, how do you, Robert? Scott Briller, online, as I said. Kevin Corden, hi, Joe. We are already getting a rain-snow mix in the Finger Lakes. You got more than what we have. We have just plain rain here in Putnam Valley in the New York metropolitan area. Let's see, who else is on? Jimmy Z, New Jersey, or Jimmy Z NJ. They've been improving alerts to your cell phone. There's something else. You can have your cell phone nearby and put it on your end table at night when you go to sleep. But I do have one of the weather radios too. Interestingly, where I live here in Putnam Valley, the New York City weather office has been off the air now for, as I said, many weeks or months. But I do have a weather radio with various frequencies, and I do have one frequency that comes in from Albany, would you believe, Tim Veltman? So I'm hearing the weather signals, the radio forecast from the Albany area here in Putnam County, New York. And incidentally, a long time ago, the Albany County Airport, where the National Weather Service at one time was located, Putnam County was in their zone. In other words, they were responsible for Putnam County forecast, and then they handed it off to New York City. And so New York City is now responsible for the forecast for here in this area, Putnam County. Anybody else? Warm weather, says Alfred Phillips. If you can call 1 degree below zero warm. Diego Brace is on. How do you doing, Diego? Dennis Cassia, hi. Better late than never. And that pretty much, I think we answered all the questions here. So again, if you, all of you out there, if you're, obviously, I'm sure that most, if not all of you, are members or subscribers to Joe Raya Weather. If you are not, or if you know people out there who might be interested in this service and listening to me jabber about the weather and other things in the afternoon hours, tell them about it. We're up to about 640 subscribers, and we're trying to go all the way up to that magic 1,000, and I'm sure we'll get there pretty soon. But in the meantime, again, no Joe and Joe tonight. We're calling it a night off for Joe. He's tired. I'm actually a little bushed as well. No Joe and Joe tomorrow, but we will hopefully be on for the first time in about a week on Joe and Joe, Coffee with Joe and Joe on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. And I do wish and hope that we'll see you out there then. It'll be a beautiful, gorgeous Sunday. Probably the nicer of the 2 weekend days. Again, tomorrow, not too bad. Sunshine developing, but also brisk and a bit on the chilly side. Warming up on Sunday and just a mid to late spring day with 60s and maybe close to 70 in some places when we get to Monday. And I don't know about you, but I can hardly wait for that. So in the meantime, we'll see you perhaps on the Joe and Joe Weather Show on Joe and Joe's YouTube channel on Sunday morning. You make it a good rest of your TGIF. And I'm meteorologist Joe Rao saying, have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a good one.